WrestleTalk.
MJF and Adam Cole, baby, are still together. Nobody turned. It's all friends wrestling still. In front of camera.
On screen.
On screen, kayfabe.
Yep.
Everyone's friendly.
Everyone is lovely to each other. The land of misfit toys are all, apart from, Blackpool Combat Club and Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, maybe even kayfabe. They're trying to maim each other.
Well, I suppose the best friends are friends.
Yeah.
And, Orange Cassidy is friends with them. I don't know if he knows that he's friends with them, but they're certainly friends with him.
I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luke Owen, DAD. Welcome
Obviously,
to the
AEW
AEW All In 2023 review. Yes, I am marking out. I'm a big mark. I'm going to be pretty biased today.
How much was that?
It was £65.
Yeah.
But that's inflation, isn't it?
Look, when I realized that Fozzy was setting up, I was like, I'm going to go and have a look at the merch stall. And I went down there and I was like, maybe I'll get myself a drink while I'm down here as well. And I looked at the merch stall and I looked at that top and I was like, that's the only bit of merch that I might be tempted to buy. But I've already spent about 200 quid on food and drink over this weekend. I'm not sure I can justify spending £65 on a t-shirt I'll never wear.
And that's why you're not a true fan. Please press the thumbs up button. Give us a subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on All In and send in those OmegaChats to WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out every single one of them. Over $5 before the end of the show. But we are starting with the main event, but also kind of the beginning.
I would say
it is a bookend story. The 0 hour pre-show began with MJF and Adam Cole winning the ROH tag team titles from Aussie Open and then concluding the night by not turning on each other and celebrating in the ring and, rather excitingly, announcing a show at the same time next year.
Yeah, All In 3, I guess it will be, for All In Wembley. Like Tony Khan was talking in the press conference afterwards that he wants to make this an annual tradition. So, yeah, they've booked Wembley Stadium again for the August Bank Holiday weekend next year. And also, he said, we're going to be doing All Out the following week because that's on the Bank Holiday in America, Labor Day weekend. And that's the tradition. It's when we were talking about on the prediction show, it might be on Dynamite, this whole deal. He's got this big thing about traditions, about weekends. And this is now the new yearly tradition for AEW, is this dual shows on the dual bank holiday weekends in the US and UK, which means we get to have another year of discourse about ticket sales.
Yeah. I think this is a good idea, but I would have waited until after All Out to see how the two potentially cannibalized each other. But then again, I would have also said booking Wembley Stadium in the first place is an overshot.
Yeah.
So every time AEW has put a bet on themselves, they have paid off.
Will Washington once said on Denise Salcedo's YouTube channel, the thing with wrestling is no one knows anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sort of truth of the matter, is we can all sit here and we can give our big opinions on, like, this, that, and the other. But we're always wrong. And the people who make the decisions end up being the ones that are right. They did. People was like, oh, the build for All In is going to be bad. It's like, oh, no, it turns out that not only did they sell 81,000 tickets, they've had huge pay-per-view buys off the back of it as well. Oh, well, it will really damage All Out as well. No, that's actually had the highest US gate that they've had in ages. So, it turns out we might just be wrong when we have these sorts of thoughts.
Well, I disagree with that. I think that there is significant flaws in the storytelling and build. Whether that affects ticket sales and stuff as much, I don't think they're as connected, because people bought a lot of WWE tickets for ages, and the creative was god-awful.
Yeah.
AEW at their worst are nowhere near the depths that Vince McMahon WWE booking got to, and they still sold loads of tickets.
Well, I agree with that. When I was on the AEW defensive, as people would often say, I would be like, well, we're looking at this thing. Be like, well, look at the ticket sales. So then I'm now looking at the ticket sales and be like, well, you can't look at the ticket sales. You've got to look at these things over here.
Well, should we go?
Stop moving the goalposts, Ollie.
Let's talk about the main crux of the draw, the main storyline heading into this, and one of the hotter things in wrestling, which is MJF and Adam Cole. They started the night the prologue of the night by winning the ROH tag team titles. In what I understand, like, I totally get this. You don't want to injure the guys in the main event. So they had a very safe, very fun 7-minute match.
It was built around two things: the double clothesline and the kangaroo kick. That is all this match was there to do. You just build to the Adam Cole hot tag, and you do those two spots, and the crowd go nuts.
Which I don't mind. That's what I thought it was going to be. Maybe a part of me was, because we love Aussie Open so much, we thought Aussie Open were going to get a bit more, but they really didn't get anything. I was a bit disappointed by that. But the only major thing I would have changed, though, because I do understand you've got a larger thing to service, you can't put on this 5-star banger, is to my understanding, the double clothesline wasn't a finisher.
Of course it was.
It was. They had already done the damage.
They'd
already hit the boom or something, and then they hit the double clothesline.
That's their tag finish.
But it's not.
It's their 3D.
But it's not the finish of the match.
Yes,
it's the finish of the match, but only after they've done a boom on someone's head.
No, that's the finish. It's the double clotheslines, the finish.
I don't think
they've won a match with it before.
I think it's a comedy finisher.
Of course, it's a comedy finisher. It's a comedy spot.
So I feel like, to protect Aussie Open, I would have just appreciated a boom to Carl Fletcher, whoever took the pin, and then they hit the double clothesline. That's just like a cherry on top.
Yeah,
it's like the people's elbow versus the rock bottom.
Well, yeah, but which one was more over?
Yeah.
And the double clothesline's more over than the boom.
Definitely more over. And you can finish the match with it, but really the match is won. The guy's incapacitated.
Oh dear, Ollie, the chat turning on you now.
Stop looking at the chat. They don't know anything. They keep bringing up numbers.
No one knows anything these days. No, like I disagree on that one. What I would agree on is I'd like to see more out of Aussie Open, because they're my guys, and I want the best for Aussie Open. And I feel that it's kind of a shame that the Ring of Honor Tag Championships have just become props. Within this, like, I don't. It'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with Cole and MJF. Are they going to be at Ring of Honor tapings? We're going to see MJF doing Ring of Honor shows.
It'd be cool to get Adam Cole back on ROH, though.
Yeah. I mean, are they just going to defend the belts against the Kingdom at All Out next week?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, against Taven and Bennett. So there is some interesting bits and bobs to get out of that. And I think the credit goes to Fletcher on this one, because although, yes, the double clothesline is a big wacky comedy finish, and it's very silly and does not look like a tag team finisher, Fletcher bumped like a madman and landed right on his head to sell it. So it was like, oh yeah, that did look like a devastating finish to a match.
I suppose just because I hadn't really thought about, I've been thinking so much of where do you go with the main title. I hadn't thought about the ROH tag titles. There's a Kyle O'Reilly somewhere in the mix. Mm-hmm. Add him to Adam Cole and MJF. Mac's a little bit jealous. Who's this new? I've got room for one friend. I don't know if I've got room for two.
Yeah.
And then that's a 3 to go against Roddy and the Kingdom. Be a nice little dynamic.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what the future of this is. Obviously, they made the Kingdom play quite a part in the finish of the MJF and Cole main event. But I thought this was a fun opener. And going back to that, no one knows anything. One of the other things people said was like, oh man, putting MJF and Cole out there first and then going on last, it's going to diminish the reactions they'll get at the end of the night. And MJF brought this up in the press conference and said, like, oh, I know people have been saying this, but like, turns out you were wrong. Because did you hear the pops? Like, the pops they got when they came out at the end were louder than the ones they got at the start of the night.
Well, Max had a different entrance as well. So he had the full pay-per-view throne entrance, which I watched back. I thought it was a motorized thing. There's a guy pushing it from behind.
Yeah.
He's just like...
Little helper.
Yeah. But yeah, and so as far as pre-shows go, or 0 hours, what is another example of a pre-show match that had such consequences for the main card? I can't think of any. I'm like, this might be the greatest on paper pre-show idea.
Sorry, it's not my microphone there.
You've had great matches on the pre-shows, but nothing that actually follows through.
Uso's New Day.
Yeah.
Is a really good example of like a match that's so good you should want to buy the pay-per-view to see matches that are nowhere near as good as that.
And in no way connected to that storyline.
Yeah. I can't think of any. There must be some. I bet you there's some in the Attitude Era, because the Attitude Era always
but that's Heat.
It was Heat. And like
that doesn't count.
And Heat would do angles that would lead into the pay-per-view, or announcements that would lead into the pay-per-view. It's like, well, quite frankly, Mr. Austin, tonight there will be no disqualification.
I think AEW should rename Collision Heat.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen,
roll the credits.
Clapping hands emoji in the chat for that.
So for the main event, of course, MJF and Cole back again. This was just masterfully done. I've seen criticism, and I guess it's valid criticism if like you want your rest in a certain serious way. But being there live and being so invested in the storylines and the characters and seeing these two wrestlers as three-dimensional entities as opposed to, no, you always have to be serious in this part of the feud and you're always a certain moralistic alignment. I thought they could flip between comedy and seriousness and heartbreak and conflict with ease, and it was seamless.
That's the strength of the characters and the story, I suppose, is because it has been straddling these lines from the very get-go of them being, from the 30-minute time limit draw through to now. You can do all of those elements in there. This was a very like Adam Cole NXT sort of main event style thing where you have the big facial expressions, the big near falls, and
he always runs his hand through his hair and the shock face.
Make sure you're getting the close-up shots of the faces and things like that. So it felt it was apt for the story that they've been doing, and like the crowd were electric for this match, and like. There were so many great callbacks to the 30-minute time limit draw, their tag stuff they were doing. Like, the finish of the first part of this match was a double clothesline.
Oh, I'd love that bit.
And then the callback to like the time limit draw and 5 more minutes. No, the swerve of because we're going to do this at Wembley. There was
5 minutes isn't enough.
Yeah, we're going to have a finish in Wembley. Like. I thought this was so great. And then like the drama at the end with Strong coming down. Like this is the sort of stuff that you go to kind of camps within wrestling fandom often, which is just like work rate and story. And I felt like this had a lot of work rate in there, but it was very story. It was more story than it was like the 5-star work rate matches that AEW might be known from in the past. And I loved it from that aspect.
I think there's also this other idea, certainly I guess I've unconsciously had, where okay, 5-star wrestling match. That means attention to detail. That means Kenny Omega is going to tease a Snapdragon in match 1 off the top rope. And then in match 3, they tease it again in a different way. And it's like that sort of real attention to detail. But then when you think sports entertainment and the comedy angles, you don't really think of it like that. It's like, oh, they just do stuff and fun and reactions, and they're just all about turns and swerves, and they're based on points, but not to such a minimalistic degree. So this was sports entertainment.
Oh, absolutely was, yeah.
But it had the attention to detail of certain spots, things that were set up 6 weeks ago.
It's the bloodline thing that people have really gravitated towards with the bloodline matches is that while 20 minutes of it is just Roman Reigns does a punch and then sort of walk around and George acts with the audience, what people aren't into the moves. What they're into is the cinema within the match, to use a sort of a sillier term, but like the drama and the story and the characters, and that's what we got here. There was more moves done, but it wasn't about the moves that were done. It was about, dropping MJF on his neck over and over again. And like Adam Cole feeling like he was purposefully targeting areas. It was Roddy trying to convince Adam Cole to cheat. It was both of them falling back into their heelish ways. The wacky ass ref bump, which
two of them.
I mean, the first one was like a standard ref bump. The second one might be the greatest ref bump I've ever seen in the history of mankind.
So that was off a Panama Sunrise from Adam Cole, a move where Adam Cole stops. That's the point of, but you come down, you stop, and then you do a flip. It's a silly move.
But that's where you're wrong, because the jump is the momentum, and it creates torque to go into the move. If you can't just stand still.
No. I just wish we hadn't seen stupid ref bumps for the 2 other shows we watched in the main event this weekend.
Yeah.
I think Kenta killed a referee at Defy.
Yeah, he certainly did.
And for the Oku match, there was Was it just like this flying drop kick?
Yeah, absolutely
and that decapitated
that lad. We watched a lot of wrestling over this weekend. It's been a really, really good weekend. This is, Tempest said this. This is probably, he's never been to a WrestleMania, but he was like, this is what I imagine a WrestleMania feels, because we were, getting all pumped for this, but we'd spent the previous day just going to wrestling shows. I wish I could have gone to more wrestling shows, because there were other ones on that I really wanted to go to.
So back onto the drama.
Please do.
The bit I liked the most, Roddy coming out was fun and everything, but it was when, I think it happened a couple of times, Max would go to do something, like he'll go, the Tombstone Pile Driver is probably the best example. They're on the announcer's table. Max goes to hit a Tombstone Pile Driver on Cole on the table. Cole, history of concussions. This is his best friend. And Max stops. He's like, I can't do it. And he hops off the table. Cole, when he gets an opportunity to do it, very shortly after, hits that Tombstone Pile Driver.
Without hesitation. And it's what he said in the promo a couple of weeks back. It's the whole Steve Austin, like, I have to beat you, right? I will do whatever it takes to win that championship.
But then earlier there was a steel step brainbuster and Cole hit it and he sort of edged back afterwards like, oh God, what did I do?
Yeah.
That stuff there was so good.
MJF's selling of that bump, the brainbuster on the steel steps was, he looked like he was not moving.
After the false finish, the restart, which I've heard some people like go, that took me out of the match a bit. But honestly, being there live, and I haven't watched it back on screen, and if I do, it will be coloured by how I felt, so I can never not like this now. It fired the crowd up so much.
Yeah, so the false finish was, they hit a double clothesline. So they both clotheslined each other, fell down, both covered at the same time, and the referee counted 3. And it was so funny because from where I was, you could feel within the crowd expecting to do a 2 for the kick out. So no one counted the 3. Everyone went 1, 2, no.
Yeah.
Boo. And the boos just rained in. BS chances. They announced that it's a draw. And the crowd were just like booing. And I was there just like, I was like, this is fantastic, because this crowd this is exactly what you want from this finish. And then Adam Cole saying, I want 5 more minutes, just like they've done the time limit draw. And MJF was like, no, in the same way that he had said, we're not doing the match. We're going to have an actual finish here. And then they had, the 2 ref bumps. They did a bit of comedy.
The comedy with the chairs was amazing.
Because they both, like, the referee went down and they both just started laughing. Because they're both like, well, now this is just what we do. We just go and we'll go grab chairs and just try and cheat and stuff. And they were trying to both do the Eddie Guerrero spot, both taking bumps. In the end, Max put his head in the chair and fell down.
That shot, and then Cole is just looking at him like, what?
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard. To go from laughing to annoyed, because you're meant to be annoyed, from popping to the moves to the, oh no, don't hit the tombstone.
Yeah.
Like the amount, the number and array of emotions that they hit in this was sublime. Sublime.
Yeah, I would say, because I don't disagree with the argument that you shouldn't have comedy in the main event, or like it's a bit too hokey for a main event. I sort of get that argument, but I think it comes down to a personal taste thing. And I think what it boils down to more than just a personal taste thing is how invested you are in this story. Because if you're invested in this story to the degree that the 81,000 people that have bought tickets for this event were, clearly, going by the crowd reactions, this is exactly the match they wanted to see, which hits all of those beats. It hits drama, it hits serious, it hits comedy, it hits goofy, and it never feels like any one of those things is out of place. But it does require you to be invested in these characters and in this storyline, to not step back and go like, oh, I could have done without the comedy ref bumps.
But it's not out of place, not just because of that, but because that's the feud. Like, the whole story has been, here's a comedy bit, here's a serious bit, here's a comedy bit, here's a serious bit.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I think you can't watch the backstage skits that they've been doing in the lead up to this and be like, well, I want a 5-star serious main event now, because they have done goofy wackiness leading up to it.
So the finish was, Roddy comes in, the referee's down for a second time. Roddy low blows Max. Adam Cole doesn't see it, tries to make the pin. It's like the slowest count. I counted, was it like 20?
Yeah.
I think. Max kicked out there, and Roddy is just screaming at Cole to use the belt on MJF. But MJF, I've stopped making notes there in my tiny notebook because I was too into it all. I think Max rolls him up, didn't he? Small package. Yeah. So not a definitive finish. A finish where you could have a rematch, not anytime soon, I don't think, but certainly Revolution next year. I think that could be a huge match.
And, we've now had, with all of the chatter, like who's going to turn, you and I did this on the prediction show. The swerve in the end was, it wasn't MJF, it wasn't Cole. The swerve was, it was neither. And it's funny, like there was someone I was reading the comments for the predictions after the show had finished, and someone said, like, I don't know why either of you think there's going to be a turn. This is SummerSlam 92.
Yeah.
It's just going to end with both of them hugging. And I was like, it didn't even cross my mind that they might just be friends. But that's, again, I think one of the brilliant parts of the story. That's the thing that was frustrating Adam Cole in the Renee Paquette interview.
Yeah.
Was why can't people just accept that we're friends and that two people can be friends and also go for a world title? And I was there being like, all right, which one are you going to do? Which one are you going to do? The Kingdom are here. Like, there's Roddy Strong. But no, I got completely worked and I was swerved, and it was friendship won in the end. And it was a beautiful ending to the show.
It's really quite subversive, this whole storyline, for wrestling tropes in general. Because the reason we thought there was going to be a turn, not just because it was heavily implied by certain actions and Cole's demeanor, but also because that's wrestling.
And it's Adam Cole and it's MJF.
Yeah. Like, wrestling dictates there is a turn. It's a big show. Well, so of course we're all sitting like, oh, who's going to turn? Whenever any two wrestlers get together, or who's going to turn on who? So to actually end it with, oh no, actually they're just good mates.
Yeah.
It was really wonderful. Max comes up to Cole at the end, and because Cole's dejected, and he says, look, we're still the ROH Tag Team Champions. And he gives Cole the belt, and Cole throws it out the ring. You're like, oh no, has the friendship turned?
It's Cole in that moment looked like he'd realized he'd made a mistake in choosing friendship. Because if he'd have listened to Roddy, he'd be champion right now.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He chose friendship over the world title in a way, and that did cost him the belt. So yeah, when you threw the ROH tag titles out in frustration, it was like I made the wrong choice.
But then Max, to echo the end of that FTR match, puts the belt down with Cole, the world title, and he stands with his back to Adam, like, hit me.
Do it,
turn on me. And Cole's got it, and Roddy's on the apron screaming, hit him, Adam, I love you. And Cole thinks about it, and I thought for sure he was going to hit Roddy with it.
I thought he was going to do that as
well. In fact, that would be the only thing I'd change there.
Yeah, maybe.
Because then I thought that would be a bigger pop. It would really clearly define, no, Cole is with Max, not his old friends. But no, Cole just put it down and they hugged. It was lovely. Show goes off air, and they sort of cut a lovely promo afterwards, and they say, yeah, we're going to do it again next year. And Tony Khan, I don't know where he came from. He was suddenly in the ring. And I'm used to Tony Khan reading teleprompters next summer in Wembley. But this is my new impression of Tony Khan in front of a live audience. I couldn't understand a word he was saying.
It was a bit, I've just bought Ring of Honor. Out there in the parking lot! Like, it was very much the like, Wembley! Next year! Wembley Stadium! Anyone does? We're going next year!
That is far more coherent. So I got some words in that.
I picked up Wembley Stadium, and I mean, thankfully, they'd already, Cole and MJF had already told us that it was good. That's what the announcement was. So really, he was just there to add a bit of color to this. He said the same thing.
Yeah.
And I guess because I'd been told, it's like having subtitles.
Yes, yeah.
But the subtitles were told to me ahead of time. And so I just had to remember the subtitles and put them over Tony's promo.
Or at the Olympics when they repeat the rules in French.
But yeah, it was quite the announcement. I made fun earlier of the discourse around ticket sales, and it was funny actually. I was chatting with Sean Ross Sapp after the show, and he was talking to Raj, and Raj had tweeted out,
from Wrestling
Inc. 81,035 tickets sold, Like, that's the number that they announced. And Sean was like, if you go through the replies, it's the dumbest people on the planet are just arguing with each other. And I was like, is that really like what people are like? That's so stupid.
It's bots.
And he turned to me and he was like, well, it takes eyes off the other problem that's going on with AEW right now. And I was like, well, I suppose that's true, I guess. But yeah, like I'm curious about Wembley next year. We were talking about this after the show when I went back to Dan Layton's place of, the idea is I look at the last live shows that we did. When we did Night of Champions, we didn't sell that show out. But the hype off of that show meant that we had a super quick sellout for Money in the Bank, because there was everyone who bought tickets, good 80% of them wanted to come again. And then the other 20% bought tickets because they really wanted to come based off the last one we did. So I guess the theory for All In 3 next year is you're going to convert a number of people, that the same people that got to come this time around, a good chunk of them, and get people who are bought in on the hype. Friend of mine texted me this morning saying, I've already booked my hotel, because he couldn't go this year. And he was like, I am not missing this again.
I've had not even casual friends. They're very good friends. But from a wrestling perspective, they don't watch wrestling. They watched last night. They bought a pay-per-view.
Wow.
That never into wrestling as a kid. They're a boxing fan, big boxing fan. And yeah, he said he really enjoyed it. So I was like, "You going to watch Dynamite on Wednesday?" And he went, "Nah."
Yeah, I think that's a lot of the promotion they've been doing around London. The posters everywhere, like for advertising All In, biggest wrestling events of all time, this, that, and the other. So yeah, I think they did a lot of good promotions. It's gonna be. I'm very curious to see how much conversion they can do off the hype. Granted, as well, like my one friend, that's an anecdote are not evidence, but that is at least one person I know that is buying a ticket because they couldn't go this year and are desperate to go next time.
Oh, I certainly will be.
I'll be going, yeah.
We got to crack on because we got loads of chats and we've also got a very long rest of the show to get on with. Keep on getting in your chats to WrestleTalk.com/support. D Grayson 97 says, Kangaroo Kick is likely a reference to Hebrew Hercules Abe Coleman, who is credited with inventing the dropkick after traveling to Australia for a match and seeing kangaroos hop on their tails and kick with both feet. MJF paying homage to a Jewish great. Oh, there you go.
Very cool.
Turnpenny. MJF got a little bit Eugene for my liking at times. I assume that just means in terms of inappropriate comedy that doesn't work. But if this does lead to a real MJF face turn, I'm all for it. I'd say he's a face already.
I think he's
been
already
a face for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Also, I was sure Don Callis distracted the ref for Sammy to hit Ospreay with the bat, leading to another twist in the story. Thoughts, lads?
I think that's just the wrestling spot of like the babyface in this case, manager talking to the referee, which allows the heel sit. It wasn't like Don Callis purposely distracted the referee so that Ospreay could get
I didn't read it that way. Brother Babyface. The only missed opportunity in an otherwise incredible main event came at the end. Adam has the belt, Max is waiting for the blow, and Roddy is screaming on the ropes. Adam should have hit Roddy. Much better than just throwing it down. Think of the pop. Totally agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Andy Sandbox. Man, what a great show. Of all the speculation, all the twists and turns that could have happened, friendship was the story. We'll see what All Out looks like. But if you ended the story here, where do you rank this program between MJF and Adam Cole? Oh, definitely one of the more successful in company history.
Yeah, Tony Khan said in the press conference afterwards that he feels that they were on a real crest of momentum a little while back, looking at All Out 2021, real crest of momentum. They were a really hot product. And last year really damaged all of that momentum. Not just Brawl Out, but Danielson getting hurt, Punk getting hurt, Kyle O'Reilly getting hurt, and like Adam Cole.
Hangman going into business for himself.
Exactly. Adam Cole getting hurt. MJF walking out on the company.
Yeah.
He said it really did damage the momentum that this company had from the end of 2021. And it's only really now that he feels like they're starting to get it back with this show here, but also the Adam Cole and MJF story.
Golden Knight 84. Hey, Luke and Ollie. Last night was an example of why, as a near 40-year-old, I absolutely love wrestling. No matter what bad might happen, there are bright spots like MJF and Cole. I can't believe how much I love Better Than You, Baby, 7, Even Scarier, MJF. What does that mean? Love You, Baby, 7, Even Scarier, MJF. Well, it is great. A Forgotten Donut says...
You didn't have last night. You had remembered donuts.
I ate a donut, yeah. It was delicious. It was a Biscoff one. Great show. Should probably get rid of Punk, though. Can't believe MJF and Cole are still friends. Really, get rid of Punk, though. Not a perfect show. Punk still works there. But overall, tons of fun. At least discipline him, Tony. Nemeth was right.
Well, an investigation is ongoing.
Falling Downer. MJF Cole was exactly the story I needed. Brawl In was exactly the story I didn't. I'm so over Punk's garbage. Bucks and FTR are the goats. Saraya felt like she had new life breathed into her. How would you bring Kyle O'Reilly into the Cole MJF story?
Well, I like your idea. Because I had pitched doing Cole, MJF, and Strong versus CMFTR as an all-in match. And the idea of like Adam Cole trying to convince Roddy that MJF is a good dude, and MJF being a bit concerned about having another friend. But you could do that with Kylo, right?
Yeah,
like put Kylo in the strong spot, and then just do him against the Kingdom.
Or where's the lie? You can have Bobby Fish. Where's the lie? Taking on CM Punk, the man who says, "Tell me when I'm telling lies."
Exactly.
And that promo could just mirror off each other for infinity.
And as we know, with Bobby Fish, the only man to really kick out the GTS.
Michaela Traub. Did you guys see MJF's throne cart hit the steps into the devil worshipper kneeling in front of it during his entrance? I shouldn't have laughed, but I absolutely did. Yeah, because he had like women either side of it getting down and
really? Because I was behind the stage, so I only saw like the pay-per-view feeds. That's all I could really see, what was being shown up on the big screen. So I can actually really see that entrance. On the last point I wanted to make on Falling Down, this thing of the Brawl In story, because I'd heard about, not through like inside source or anything like that. Sean told me. Just came up and it was like another fight. I thought he was like ribbing, and it was like, oh yeah, good one. He's like, no, for real. There's been another fight backstage, and I was like, oh come on, man. So I text you to let you know, but I meant to say, don't tell Dan.
Oh.
Because I suddenly thought, I was like, oh no, I'm going to ruin Dan's night because Dan's trying to have a nice time and he just wants people to be friends. Now we're like, they've had another fight backstage.
No, I was intent on ruining Dan's night. I sang hardcore country at him through most of the evening. Andy Sandbox. For Luke, when MJF called out, quote, the bald guy for the first question in the press conference, I was hoping it was you, and it was. Congratulations. How does it feel to also lead the question that booked Kenny Takeshita for All Out? You're canon now?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah, because I asked Don Callis about Will Ospreay and Takeshita, and that led Callis into cutting a promo that announced the All Out match. I don't think I was the catalyst for it. I think they would have announced it at that point.
No, I think it came to him in the moment.
And he was just like, I think you should book this, Tony Khan. But yeah, like it was... I mean, MJF could have called a whole number of people in that room the bald one because I wasn't the only person there. But I was the first guy to get a question asked, and yeah, it was very fun. We're basically best friends now.
Well, me and you, we could probably put this on the description of the podcast. Both of us have been somewhat roasted for our heads by MJF.
It's true. I mean, because I did one of MJF's first interviews when he joined AEW ahead of Double or Nothing. And he roasted me on that one as well for having terrible opinions because I told him he wasn't going to win the Battle Royal. I said, I think Hangman Page is going to win. And he was like, well, you're an idiot and no one should listen to you. But yeah, it was very good fun getting to do that. And I just saw Amanda Savage, who was one of our website writers, in the chats, saying that one of the thumbnails that she picked for press conference images and stuff is when Tony Khan was just smiling at me while I was asking him a question.
Gaz Gengar. Lads, I called a Roddy Strong interference and it didn't ruin the match. Unlike the draw fake-out spot I hated due to its timing. See, some people don't like it. Did they need the draw bit? Was that necessary? My mates and I sure didn't like it. Well, we've already sort of covered it. I think it was really well done, and it's certainly... It did bring the crowd down, but you need that so you can bring them up higher.
I thought they came out louder off the back of it than they were pre it. So in that sense, it worked.
Ket. The main event was great, but a little overbooked for my liking. From the double pin to the match restarting to the 2 ref bumps to an interference spot, less is more. I mean, look at what the Bloodline are doing, though. It's the same template, and we watched a bunch of shows this weekend, and they all had that same overbooking. It's a stylistic sign of the times, I think, and also, it worked for me.
And also, people often wax lyrical about their nostalgia for the Attitude Era. Show me an Attitude Era main event, pay-per-view main event that didn't have all of the pyro, ballyhoo, bells and whistles, interference, and overbooked nonsense. There is a moment when overbooked can get too much, because like the argument against WCW was every match was an overbooked thing. Yeah. But if it's just your one main event's got all the big overbooked schmoz stuff on it, then it works totally fine. That's why Jeff Jarrett kind of stands out in AEW, because it's only his matches on Dynamite have the big schmozzy stuff in it, and then everyone else just have like a little bit of interference.
Kevin, MJF and Cole performance were amazing. Max almost had me crying at the end. If you have the occasion to watch with commentary and better audio to catch what was said, you should do it. I hope I can make it to a future one in London. Jam that jam. 3 out of 3 for some reason.
Wow, it's a good scoring system.
James C. Morgan, finally for now, this show was amazing. Also, let's not take for granted that we're currently watching possibly the GOAT, MJF, just now entering his prime as a wrestler. Anyways, thanks for all that y'all do. Yeah, like people usually say the prime of a wrestler is when they hit their mid-30s. And he's like, what, 26, 27? We just had another one, actually. Easter, when watching MJF and Cole, I was just waiting for who was turning on who. The fact no one turned and MJF still won just made the night for me. Feels like WWE has conditioned me to expect to be disappointed. AEW let fans go home happy.
Very nice.
Right, keep getting in those chats to WrestleTalk.com/support. We might speed through this, because we've not got super detailed notes either.
The other
you've just got the Wikipedia.
I've literally got the Wikipedia listing, which is nonsense as well, because like I was sat in the press area, so I could have taken my laptop and made notes, because they were like charging point stuff. I was one of the people who allowed to take a bag in, but I didn't, because I traveled light. So it just meant that I didn't make it full advantage of the press box at all. Outside of it, I had the free food.
We know for next time.
I bumped into the guys from OSW there as well. And, the first thing they said to me, I was like, what food did you have? They said, did you have the chicken or the salmon? I said, neither. I had the samosas. And they were like, there were samosas? Said, yeah. He was like, I was just trying to get as much stuff as I could into my pockets, like all the free drinks and stuff.
That's wrestling fans. So the show had a pre-show. Apparently it was still televised, sort of on the YouTube bit. But you had
they changed the time of like when the pre-show started, because they said the pre-show was going to start at 5, but we were like in there at 4:30. And I came in at 4:30, and they were doing the Hobbs and Miro thing. And I think they just amended the time and didn't tell anyone.
So I totally missed the Hobbs Miro thing, but apparently Simon Miller was a security guard.
That's security guarding for you.
That's 997 for you. Is that a good impression, by the way, everybody? Because me and Luke have been doing it for years, but we've only just started doing it on air.
But it's so unique to like our
one video I once edited.
One video you once edited that he probably doesn't remember doing. That's 1999 for you.
That's 1999 for you. So we had Team TNA out there as well. Jeff Jarrett did some. He called us all wankers, and Big Show Grado and Anthony Ogogo came out and they beat them up.
Crowd lapped this up, particularly Grado getting to come out as well, so that was good fun. No Like a Prayer, unfortunately.
Then we got Aussie Open versus MJF and Cole, which we've talked about. Jungle Boy versus Hook was next, in another sort of 8-minute match, was it?
8 minutes 20.
Yeah, 8 minutes. Yep. So that was not much substance on the 0 hour, but Jungle Boy made his entrance in a limo, which was fun to see unfold, and Hook met him on the ramp. They brawled over the limo. That was when we got the suplex spot from Jungle Boy into the windscreen. I didn't even see that or hear the thing that he said to the camera, which was real glass, cry me a river.
I did, because I had the pay-per-view feed next to me, and I saw him, like, they did a spot on glass, and then looked at the camera and said something, and I didn't have any audio, but I thought, I bet you he said something about glass there. I might need to tell the editor to amend some of my news, because I thought it was a black cab.
It looked like a limo to me, but it wasn't a black cab.
Because I couldn't see from where I was. I thought there was a black cab on the stage, and they did a spot into it because, UK references and all that sort of stuff. Oh, I need to message Simon and tell him to edit that right now. But yeah, I couldn't see that spot from where I was sat, but I heard that spot from where I was sat.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Oh, it was loud. Not the thing he said onto camera, but the actual like glass shattering and stuff. I heard from where I was sat.
You're like, oh my god, Stone Cold. They got Austin. But as soon as I saw it, I was already writing in my notes a joke about Punk.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll write a joke about Punk and the glass and stuff. Little did I know
Yeah.
that, I mean, we won't get too into this because we want to keep it nice and positive, but I really think I know Punk has done loads of things on air and not asked for people's permission. But what did you think was going to happen, Jungle Boy, saying that into the camera?
Yep, I completely agree with you. But it's, from what we can gather, because no one said anything, no one got heated at Punk for the Hangman thing. No one approached Punk and had a go at him.
It's because they're all told to not come to the show. No one can approach him. They find themselves in front of a weird makeshift ambulance.
So, it feels like it's one rule for one another in Punk's world. I'm sure in Punk's mind he is the hero of this story, but is always painted out to be the villain.
He is the hero.
But it was, I actually made this joke in the news that will be coming out later on the WrestleTalk News channel, which is like it will come to the surprise of absolutely no one who's been paying attention, but this did upset CM Punk. Because the story is, and this is from, it's two sides of your commemorative he said, she said coin. On Punk's perspective on things, on people close to Punk have said that Jack Perry started the fight. He got in Punk's face and then Punk was just getting ready for his match and he got in his face and he barged past him and then
disrespect.
Then Punk got him in a headlock and he sort of started to choke him out and the fight broke up. Mm-hmm. The other side of the coin from other people is that Punk got in Jack Perry's face. Like Jack Perry was just walking to the back and Punk purposely walked up to him, heated words, punched him, then got him into a headlock and gave more digs in before the fight was broken up. For what it's worth, Miro quote tweeted the side where Jack Perry started it, saying that is not true and false. So from Miro's perspective, it's the other side of the coin that's Punk threw the first punch.
Oh, right. Oh, so I thought Miro was calling the whole thing false.
No, he was just saying that side of the story is false.
Oh, interesting.
And
he's a collider. He's meant to be Team Punk.
I referenced this in the news. I was like,
loyalty.
He was brought in. So there are two sides to the story, as there have been with all of the CM Punk stories. And those two sides are always CM Punk's being a dick, or those close to Punk are telling you the other person was a dick, and Punk was just being a good guy and trying to not be a dick around people.
I feel like it always also has Punk getting in someone's face and saying, do we have a problem? Which is such a loaded question when you're in someone's face.
Oh, and I'll make, I feel like I'm being a broken record here, but you're going to hear me repeat these words again in a couple of videos' time. But Punk's big problem, and what led to brawl out in the instance, was wrestlers or people close to friends telling the dirt sheets things. And all we've had for the last 2 weeks are friends of Punk telling the dirt sheets things. But again, in his mind, I wager that Punk doesn't see a problem with that because he's the hero.
They threw the first punch.
They threw the first punch, even though I think Punk's probably been, and his friends have been doing it for years.
It's a really testing time to be a CM Punk fan. It is.
Yeah,
he's still right.
Look, I don't know the guy. I've never met him. I've never interacted with CM Punk in my whole life. I cannot imagine he's happy there.
I think we'll see what happens, but the stuff last September and then all the reports since Collision started, a difficult decision's got to be made, I think, from management. And it seems like the only person with the capacity to do that, especially because Christopher Daniels, head of relations, reportedly isn't allowed in the building either.
Ace Steel's not allowed in the building.
Yeah. They started it.
It's actually really fair when you think about it.
Tony Khan's got to make a call.
Yeah.
And that call is, you keep him in the company and everyone's going to be unhappy and there's going to be more stuff like this, or you get rid of him.
Yeah, because they've tried to separate them out, but this is what people thought might happen when they're under the same roof again. It didn't happen with the Elite this time. It happened with Jack Perry. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is, man. This is why I'm glad I'm not a boss. So I don't know what the solution to this problem is, but it's not good. And I think it was Mike Johnson, a PW Insider. It was either PW Insider or PW Torch said that there were some in AEW that were concerned and worried that this story is going to overshadow the success of All In, just as Brawl Out overshadowed All Out 2 years ago.
I don't feel it's that point, and I feel like MJF overshadowed Double or Nothing more than this is overshadowed. Because maybe it's because I was there. I don't know. But we'll move on. Hook won with a Taz mission, by the way, won back the FTW title. Speaking of Punk, though, he kicked off the main card. I haven't watched it back, but apparently he did look visibly annoyed when he made his way to the ring.
Apparently so.
But he had an absolutely banging match against Samoa Joe. I didn't know any of the backstage stuff when this had happened, so I just watched it. I love, I'm a big CM Punk fan. I've only seen him once live before, which was during a Raw house show back in 2012. I loved hearing the music. I loved watching him make his entrance. I loved how he just turned heel during the match, and I'm like, Punk, go with the grain here. You are such a good heel.
But that's what I love about this character.
Yeah.
It's he is 08 Cena. He's 95 Hogan. He is the babyface that people don't like, but is still acting like the babyface on TV. Mm-hmm. But the crowd are telling you to turn heel. Just like the crowd in 08 were telling Cena to turn heel. It's like in 95 when they were telling Hogan to turn heel. But they were like, nope, I'm a babyface, and this crowd are going to love me no matter what. And that's what they did. Cena did. Hogan eventually did, I say 95, really, 94 Hogan. And then eventually did the heel turn. But that's the character that Punk has got right now. I'm a heel that is refusing to turn heel. Mm-hmm. And then doing the Cena 5 moves of doom.
Brilliant.
Doing the Hogan leg drop. Even to a degree, I know it's the Pepsi plunge, but doing a pedigree.
Yeah, I agree. It's a loaded move.
It's a loaded move. I love this character. And this is because Dan brings this up on Collision a lot of just being he just feels so insincere as a babyface. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Because he's a heel. He just doesn't know it yet. And I really, really dig the character.
See, I agree. I like the character as well. I get big sort of Brett vibes but Brett's a heel in America. I know, right?
Punk referencing a Bret Hart thing.
But Brett's a heel in America, but he's a babyface in Canada. Yeah. It's like Punk's a heel in Elite fans, but he's a babyface in Punk fans. But my problem with it is the way the promotion treats him, because I don't think the promotion should treat him like a face. When they're endorsing this real world's title.
Okay, but they did it with Cena and they did it with Hogan.
Well, I didn't like that.
And if you're using those as the template, then you sort of do have to play up that he is the babyface.
But that was bad. Like that, you can do that storyline and make it good, mm-hmm. and then you don't also have to drag the AEW brand into the CM Punk vortex.
I don't know if I agree with that one. I think it works really well. I'm really enjoying this CM Punk character, and maybe that's why I'm like, I don't want him to be fired because I want to see where the character goes. But also at the same time, it's causing a lot of issues.
Yeah,
it's almost like someone should do a top 10 list about this, with 5 on one or 5 on the other.
So Joe here was having the time of his life. He looked like ROH TNA Joe, flicking the middle fingers at Punk, doing his dance.
Doing his little dance before he run up and kicked him in the face. He did multiple walk-away spots.
The first one was scouted, though. Yeah. So Punk didn't actually do the leap. Very good. I forgot about it. And then when Punk does the crossbody outside, Joe just walks away. Brilliant spot.
It was at that point I thought, I really should probably, I've got this access here. I should probably use my notes apps to try and make some notes. I only made one note on the entire show because I just ended up watching the show. And that one note is, Joe walkaway spot, 5 out of 5 match.
Punk busted open his head pretty brutally after being swung into the announcer's desk. But yeah, Pepsi plunge after the Cena Hogan spots from Punk, which Joe kicked out at 1 off the Hogan leg drop. Just really, really fun match for two guys who have a real storied history. I just wish Joe had beaten him in the Owen Hart Cup.
That's it.
It's the only thing I would change.
Or not have done the match in the Owen Hart Cup. Yeah. That's the only thing I would change now, because I really think it was an error that Punk had already beaten him. Because the whole story of this should be Punk finally beat Joe. After
that, we had the Elite versus Bullet Club Gold plus the Takeshita. I was like, what? Because I was just starting to hear about the stuff that had happened.
Because this is when I was told, it was during the entrances for this, is when I got told of what had happened backstage.
I was like, why are you putting Kenny Omega and Hangman Page so close to Punk's entrance?
I wonder if it's a big brain play from Tony. He's almost forced their hand into like seeing each other. You know, maybe they'll walk backstage and be like, you know, with a bit of mutual respect. That's all you need.
This was actually for me, and I'm not saying it was a bad match because of course it was a good match, but it was the most underwhelming match on the card.
I completely agree with you. Yeah. Considering this went 20 minutes, I thought this should have been better.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the criticism going in was it's a 6-man, and it was kind of like a New Japan 6-man where you're doing the 6-man because really it's to set up the bigger singles matches later on. That's exactly what this was. Mm-hmm. So it did feel more like a main event of an AEW TV episode.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Kota Ibushi is still nowhere near where he was. A few botches there. And just the stuff I wanted to see the most, which was mainly Omega versus Takeshita or Omega versus Jay White, just never got enough of. But again, that's the function of a 6-man tag. You're not meant to get the full delivery on that. But yeah, fun action, but it went on a bit too long, and I got a bit disinterested.
It was okay. Mm-hmm. Is the nicest way I could describe this match. It was okay, but it did serve a storyline purpose in Takeshita pinned Kenny, and that sets up the match they've got going on next week. And as Callis mentioned in the press conference, that I'm sure people are really thrilled I'm still referencing, Kenny is 0-4 in singles matches since the Callis splits.
Really?
So, and he's
lost everyone.
He's lost everything. And like, that's the story that they're sort of running with. And that was the story in this match. He lost here. Like, they won in blood and guts. Mm-hmm. But I think that's like, it's really like, he's got loss after loss after loss since Callis split. And really, when you look at blood and guts, then he won because Callis and Takeshita left and Pac walked out. So yeah, like I think it's an interesting story. But it reminds me then of 2019 Kenny, where his character was, I suck now, and I'm sadly walking through Shibuya with my backpack, and we were there being like, no, just where's Kenny gone? Like, give me Kenny Omega. I don't want to see I'm rubbish Kenny Omega. Give me good Kenny Omega. And then they eventually did, and you know what? It was way better.
Yeah. So Takeshita rolled up Omega there. Good booking to set up the next match. Young Bucks versus FTR. At this point, I was like, bloody hell. Like, you started with Punk Joe, then the 6-man, then this. Bucks FTR was my match of the night.
Yeah, this match was absolutely outstanding.
How long did it go? 20 minutes?
21 minutes.
What was the longest match on the show?
The main event, which was a half an hour.
Yeah, so 22 minutes for this match. It was, for the first 15 minutes, I wasn't really reacting. I was just, watching and like, yeah, this is good. The last third was just incredible. I was on the edge of my seat. Just incredible was in the match, I think.
Cash actually couldn't get Dax across. They just put just incredible in this place.
Cash Wheeler trying to hit the 450 springboard after him losing the first match because he went up for the flip, not the fists. And then missing it again, and that near fall from the very first tease of the 450, I was on the edge of my seat. So many near falls. Mm-hmm. There's this great spot where Cash is just destroyed. I think he kicks out of the BTE trigger, and Dax runs in, breaks up the pin last second, and there's this shot because I was watching the screen as well as the ring of Dax just standing up, and the Bucks are behind him, and Dax has got this sort of grizzled, I'm going to have to do it all alone. Okay, I'm outnumbered. And he turns around and he runs at them and they beat him up. Just awesome.
This match was absolutely superb. You referenced the hardcore country thing earlier. Dan Layton got very, very upset. So the Rev Pro show, Mickie James was in a triple threat match, and the crowd chanted hardcore country, and there was like a call and response. Like one half of the crowd would do it and the other half of the crowd would do it. And the start of the match, it was a very cute thing. Some people then decided, we're just going to do this for the whole match, like it was the Dragunov Guns thing. And it got old quite quickly, and it worked in the Dragunov WXW thing because the whole crowd were doing it. This was like 6 lads in one area and 7 lads in another just being dicks. Mm-hmm. And Dan was so heated and so hot about this. And afterwards, I was like, I felt like some of it was in good. Like they were trying to, and he got really angry. He was like, they would never do that in a men's match. Mm-hmm. So I took great pleasure in letting him know. I was like, oh, there were a lot of fans in where I was that were doing their damnedest to not enjoy FTR and the Bucks.
Really?
Because they just wanted to chant about Cash Wheeler.
Oh, yeah, because Cash Wheeler's got a gun.
Yeah, so that one was the only chant that they started that caught on. Oh. They had 14 others that they were trying, and they were, football fans. They just had various different style of football chants and stuff. They were doing their darndest to not enjoy this match and just make chants about Cash Wheeler that will get over.
Oh, it's nice in a way that, wrestling fans being dicks is almost equal opportunities.
That's what I said to Dan. I was like, you see, they don't just hate women. Sometimes they hate men too.
Another bit of Dan Goss, he was behind Cash Wheeler in a queue at Starbucks over the weekend.
He was.
So this is an exclusive here. Cash Wheeler's Starbucks order of choice is a venti cold brew. Apparently, venti is the largest size in Starbucks. Yeah. I don't go there because it's crap coffee.
I think it's better than Costa.
No, it's provably not.
What?
Starbucks caffeine is the lowest concentration.
Oh, that I've little doubt, but I think it tastes better than Costa coffee.
Think it tastes like water, dishwater.
Dan said to me once, because we were shooting in Cineworld in Leicester Square, and there isn't a Starbucks in Leicester Square unless you sort of go further out to get one. And I said, I just want to go get a coffee. And he said, if you come out with a Costa, so help me God. And I was like, Dan, I'm not poor. I'm not gonna go to Costa. I'll go to Greg's if I'm going to go and get a coffee.
I prefer Costa than Starbucks. Starbucks is awful.
Anyway, a few people as well just making a note of here, because we didn't hear this, but apparently the commentary throughout the night was terrible.
Really? Well, what, Nigel, Taz, and...
No, it was Nigel, Excalibur, and JR. And I don't think JR had a good time during the six-man. And I don't think he had a good time during the next match either.
Just another great spot I want to put over. Where was it? FTR. So they just started doing each other's moves. FTR did a spike pile driver. Then the Bucks did their own spike pile driver. Then FTR did the BTE trigger. And they kiss, I think it was Matt Jackson's face either side. And then they turned around into a big rig from the Bucks. Oh my God.
It was so good.
So good.
This was my match of the night. I really, really enjoyed this.
But yeah, FTR got the win in the end. And they went for a handshake, but the Bucks walked out.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I thought at the end of the trilogy, they would do the respect spot, which is what, FTR is sort of known for, is like you do the final third, like do the third match. And then at the end of it, you're like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
And the better team won. No, the Bucks walked away.
Which I like. I think this is, you have that really great trilogy of matches with the FTR and the Briscoes. I think it's better to go the other way from the Briscoes. No, we're the Bucks.
Yeah.
And we just don't like you. And this is a saga. This isn't a trilogy. They can do this so many times over the years.
I like that as well. I mean, it's also nice, FTR sort of opened the door to friendship, but really what they need to do is kick one down.
Yeah. After that, we got the Stadium Stampede. Seeing a Jon Moxley entrance live was really quite special. That was my favorite entrance of the night.
Yeah.
And then it was just carnage. Very difficult to follow.
21 minutes of utter carnage.
I was very confused when Penta made his entrance again.
Well, he came out as the bad...
The red
Penta.
Yeah.
Redner.
Penta El Rioja. What's red?
The music hit, and there was this genuine... huh? Like from the audience, like 81,000 people going, huh?
I thought, is this a surprise cameo?
I thought it was Penta Dark. Because remember, he was doing that for a little bit.
Obscure.
When he had like the little like creepy coffee thing, he'd people behind him go like, I thought it was that, but I don't know.
Apparently, I just read this on one comment, so I haven't checked it. Penta did start screaming at, was it Santana he put through the table?
Yes.
He started screaming at Santana in English, and Alex Abrahantes still translated it into English.
He did that at the press conference as well, because it's Penta versus Cassidy on Wednesday for the international title.
Oh, unpredictable.
And Penta cut a promo on Cassidy in English, and then Alex Abrahantes went, Penta says, and just did a different style of promo on him.
Very helpful. But yeah, this was just Mox getting to do Terry Funk tributes. The jumping pile driver on Trent on the steps. I thought Mox was incredible in this.
Yep.
We got a spot where Sue drives up in the minivan. That is Trent's mum. Sue gives them a tray of cookies.
An actual
with
trays of cookies.
Cookies on them that was used as a weapon.
So apparently, that's what Sue used to do at the early AEW shows, was bring cookies like for the locker room. So they got to use those cookies as weapons in this match.
There was this great spot where all the best friends, the remaining best friends, so Trent, Chucky, Cassidy, all did their hug spot with Wheeler Yuta dazed in the middle, and they all hug around him, and then they beat the crap out of it.
So
that was
cool.
great.
That was great. They did the spot with the skewers into Moxley's head. Wasn't quite as brutal as when he done it on the Independence show, and there were like loads of them stuck in. It was only like a good handful of them sort of stuck in there, but got the reaction from the crowd that you wanted and stuff. And
Cassidy bled.
Didn't he? Just bloody hell! I mean, it went to town on him with a fork.
Red Cassidy.
It was
orange.
That's very good. I had a really, really fun time with this one. Like I nearly wept when Eddie Kingston's music hit, because I was so excited to see Eddie Kingston, and he just stormed down to the ring, just started battering people. I was like, I genuinely because I had proper FOMO with this show, because I was in the press box, but I wasn't with really any other members of press, because we're all sort of like in like booths and stuff, but the people that I was sat next to just weren't there for the show. I don't know where they went to, but it just meant I watched this show on my own.
You could have called me and Dan, and me and Dan could have come down and sat there with you, surely.
Well, yeah, but then you had really good seats.
Your seats were way better than our seats.
Were they? I couldn't see the stage.
Yeah, but we couldn't see much.
I didn't want to impose upon you. But anyway, I had a bit of FOMO, because what I was seeing was just like it was a real moment of, I enjoy watching wrestling with friends. And that's like a really fun thing to do. And I was just watching like pockets and groups of friends just having the best time, apart from the dicks during the cash wheeler thing. But like, people who were just having fun and being having a really good time. And I got proper FOMO for that. But I did not feel that FOMO during this match, because like my inner bloke just came out. So anytime that was kind, I was just going, yeah! And I was jumping out my seat. I had a great time with Stadium Stampede.
Eddie did that thing where he just disappears for most of a hardcore match, and then appears at the end to just like walk down like, I'm going to murder some folk now. He gets in and he sort of goes for Cesaro. And I think what happened, like Mox Claudio. I've written Cesaro's swing here, that's why. Mox like pulled him off maybe, and that's what sort of in Kingston's mind, all right, I'm going for you, brother. And he tackles Mox through the barbed wire table board that's set up, and they just laid there, both covered in blood, and Eddie Kingston just has his middle finger up in John Moxley's face for the finish.
And Moxley's just got a middle finger back at Kingston.
Yeah. So good. So Cassidy got the win on Claudio,
because he'd put tape around his hands and then put that fist into glass. So he did the orange punch with a fistful of glass, essentially.
So I've since learnt that is a Jean-Claude Van Damme spot
from Kickboxer.
Kickboxer,
Bloodsport.
I thought it was a Sticky Bandits reference from Home Alone 2.
Very good.
Sticky Bandits.
Yeah, very good. One of my favorite spots in this, and you might be able to fill in some of the blanks for me on this, was that the swing. Because the idea was they were going to do this swing, and then someone would do a dive off the top rope to the floor. So like, even while all this calamity is happening, he's just still doing the swing. Problem is that the person who was doing the dive, escapes me now, fell. So they had to sort of like get back up and redo the spot. I think it was Trent and
it was Ortiz.
It was Ortiz and so they got up and they fell. It just meant that Claudio had to do the swing longer than he was supposed to.
Did 20 revolutions, I think. Yeah, it was great. So Cassidy got the win. I think that will probably set up Cassidy Claudio ROH world title. But obviously, Cassidy versus Mox are all out. I think Mox takes the title there, and then Mox Kingston for the international title. Surely. Why? Just a feud. That's your feud.
Yeah, I mean, because you've got the Arthur Ashe show coming up after All Out. So yeah, I think. Sorry, I know we're trying to like move on to getting the rest of the show done, but just talk about like interesting plotting of shows that they've got. It's All In, it's All Out. It's Arthur Ashe in like 2 weeks' time. And then they've just announced there's a new pay-per-view coming on October 1st.
Wrestle Dream,
which it feels like it's another New Japan crossover show.
Sounds like a Japanese title for a wrestling show.
Yeah. Or like an English promoter wanting to sound like a Japanese promotion. So that's like, it's an Antonio Inoki tribute show. And I think that, Tony said that we've got talks with New Japan, having people coming across for that. And then it's Full Gear in November. And that there is a real string of shows that are quite close to each other, particularly like All In, All Out, Arthur Ashe, and Wrestle Dream. Very, very close to each other. So try and make sure you are saving big matches, but not rushing the big matches being announced.
But there's been a few pay-per-views from AEW over the last year where they finish, and I'm like, yeah, but what now? Coming out of this show, I'm like, oh, they could go here and they could go there, and there's lots of options. So I'm quite excited and optimistic. The women's four-way was next. Saraya, Britt Baker, Toni Storm, and champion Shida. I actually enjoyed this match quite a lot because I really got into the Saraya stuff. I was quite surprised. Mostly it was Toni Storm. It was Toni Storm and Saraya.
Yeah.
So the story there, they went in as outcast friends, of course, but Toni Storm's been doing her own gimmick for a couple of weeks now. It's been quite evident that she's going to split off and do her own thing. But the way they did it was really good. All of the Knight family, which is Saraya's family, were at ringside, and Toni Storm accidentally hits Sweet Saraya, which is Saraya's mum, and Sweet Saraya's like, I'm gonna F you up, and she's literally trying to get over the barricade, and Saraya in the ring, her face just dropped. I'm gonna murder you too. I don't care if you're my friend. You hit my mum. EastEnders vibes via
Norwich.
Via Captain America, Tony Stark,
Civil War,
Winter Soldier. You killed my mum.
Spoilers for Captain America: Civil War.
But then Toni Storm just like, I loved the direction she took that.
Beast mode.
Exposing the bottom turnbuckle, putting Saraya's head, where, all those neck issues she's had, on it to do her running hip attack.
Yeah.
Ruby Soho sees this. She runs down. She stops Toni Storm. Whoa, we're friends here. What the hell are you doing? And Toni Storm hits her, and Ruby Soho walks out. The Outcasts are over.
Well, yes,
surely.
Well, Saraya said in the press conference that they're not, like, the group isn't done, but she does want an apology from Toni Storm.
Oh, I can't see them repairing this. I don't want to see Ruby. Saraya's a face now, surely. Maybe just in London.
That's it. I think that's going to be the difficulty of this. Well, we'll finish the match, and then we'll kind of talk about the decision that was made.
Yeah. So Shida and Britt didn't really do a great deal. How long was the match?
It was 8 minutes. Well, just under 9.
Yeah. So there wasn't really, with all that Outcast stuff and the Knight family getting involved, wasn't really much for Shida and Britt to do. But they have a bit at the end where Britt's trying to get the lockjaw in, and Shida's squirming and trying to get out of it. And, it's just in. Oh, is she going to tap? But Saraya hits the rampage on Toni Storm. 1, 2, 3. She gets the win before Britt manages to tap out Shida. I like that finish. Good finish.
I thought a great spot was Paige having Storm in the Paige Turner and Baker hitting the stomp.
Oh, that was a great spot.
Superb.
So really, I really enjoyed the story of the match, and I really like the finish. And I think Saraya winning the belt, in Wembley, good idea on paper. I don't think this is going to work. Yes. I don't think the fans want Saraya as champion. She doesn't wrestle enough. Of course, that's because of neck issues, I presume. But AEW is a very wrestling-focused promotion, and the fans won't accept someone who wrestles on a part-time basis like that.
That's where the issues
Plus
lie,
Shida.
I guess. Like, I feel like, we can we've got a little soundboard that we could probably press being like, AEW Women's Division, was completely underserved on this. Shida was underserved. Like, there's a bunch of buttons that we can press to just repeat points that we've been making for the past 4 years with this company. The past 5 years we've been making with this company. It's the same thing over and over and over again with the women's division. One match on this card. Someone questioned Tony Khan about this in the post-show thing, and he gave a complete non-answer that actually answered a different question. Because it's something that like it just feels that they don't want to address. Or maybe he just doesn't see there's a problem with it. Obviously, I think there is. There are signs in the crowd that would tell you that there is. But I do think that the sign that was on Dynamite a couple of weeks ago caused a bit of panic booking around this four-way, and some plans were changed. But you and I said on the predictions video, Saraya feels like the right winner here.
I had her in my predictions.
Because it's Wembley, it's London. She is front and center of all of the promotion that they were doing around this. She was the one who was going around the TV shows here in the UK. She was front and center of all the posters. And when she came out to Queen, by the way, I thought Emi Sakura would come out, and I was like, yay, Emi got on the card. And then I was like, oh dear. But Saraya came out. When she came out with Queen and her family, I was like, she is 100% winning this match. There ain't a cat in hell's chance she is walking out of here as the champion. But yeah, I think in isolation, this is completely the right call to make. Because Saraya gets the win after the turmoil that she went through to try and get herself back into the ring. And she talked very openly about this in the press conference and being like, WWE just stopped trying. Like, she asked and they were like, nope. And they just stopped trying. And even though she felt that she could, they were like, no. So she gave up. And she gave up for 5 years. She just gave up. And it wasn't until Tony Khan picked up the phone and said, maybe we could try. And they went through and they, found and he was like, if there is a way we can make this work, absolutely, you should come and join us and see what we can do. So an incredible journey that she's been on to get back to this point in isolation. The problem is, what happens next week?
Yeah.
What happens the week after that? What happens the week after that? I don't think she's going to defend the belt at All Out. And I don't think she'll defend the belt on TV, which means she probably won't defend the belt now until Full Gear.
I don't know. I think they set up a Britt versus Saraya match because Saraya almost had it won herself. But it just underlines Shida was just lip service here.
Absolutely, of course she was. I got the impression from the press conference, Saraya's not defending the belt at All Out. Just Tony Khan being like, well, we need to see how your neck is.
Yeah.
Made it sound like I haven't booked you in a match, so we're not going to do that.
After that, we got the Sting Darby versus Christian, Swerve Strickland coffin watch. Double coffin match. I just assumed there'd be two coffins.
I thought so as well.
And that you'd have to put both of them in a coffin and shut them.
Yeah. I also thought
there was one coffin.
I thought they might have changed this match after Terry and Bray's passing. I thought they might have changed it because there was a bit of online chat, and I was like, I wonder if this will go down a bit. Like
I never once thought that,
and I don't think anyone in the building did. And I haven't seen anything about it online, so I don't think it would ever have been a consideration for them.
This was fine. A lot of people really enjoyed it. It was fun, but the show was a bit long by this point. I just wanted to get to the main event, if I'm honest. But we did get Sting and Christian Cage in the ring at the same time, and a TNA chant broke out.
Do you know who started it?
What? Did you? No, 3 count.
3 counts.
TNA.
So I was there in the press area, and Sting and Christian Cage faced off against each other, and I couldn't help myself. I just went, TNA, TNA, and a group of lads laughed, and they then joined in. It was the same people who had done the casual stuff. They joined in, and some other people down there joined in, and then before I knew it, it kind of spread around. But yeah,
80,000 people you got chanting TNA. Jeff Jarrett couldn't do it. This was a fun match, though. Lots of spots and Sting sort of... Oh, God, he did a Scorpion Death Drop on the coffin.
I just want to say, I don't think I was the only person that thought to do a TNA chant. Like, it's just like, if where we were, 80,000, we couldn't have got all the way around. But certainly in the area that I was in, and that was an area that people had, that was done by me.
Sting took a few bumps, like doing some actual jumps and stuff. Luchasaurus came down to save Christian at one point. Nick Wayne stopped him. Luchasaurus killed him, carried Nick Wayne out. So you got a bit of Luchasaurus and Darby substance there for All Out next week. And the finish was, Sting was put in the coffin, and Swerve, who was great, just presenting himself as a heel, just chucked in the bat as well. All the hubris, disrespect. But Sting got that bat and stopped the coffin being fully shut. So when it comes to Swerve getting put in the coffin, and Darby did a coffin drop onto the coffin lid, ouch. to put Swerve inside it. A few of Swerve's braids were poking out.
They certainly were. Run it back. Where's VAR? He didn't lose that match.
I don't care. But I think it's funny.
Yeah. This match was on the card, so Sting could wrestle at Wembley, and us British fans could get to see the man they call Sting do a match that we thought we would never get to see Sting wrestle again. Plus, I think Tony Khan just wanted to have Seek and Destroy play out because he couldn't get the Sandman.
Yeah, we got the Sting old entrance music.
Yes, we got Metallica played. So that was great, and the crowd really lapped up Seek and Destroy being played.
And also, I got to see a Sting no-sell spot.
Yeah.
And he did the fire up and everything. I was really happy.
And that's the reason why this was on. This didn't need to be a good match. This just needed to be the crowd get to see Sting do Sting things. And Sting, he put Swerve through a table on the second attempt. But he made sure the second time this table is breaking.
Jericho Ospreay came next. I know you've been joking about Fozzy a lot, but they hit it out of Wembley Stadium. Yeah. They did it perfectly. They had a little area above the Tron to set up and play, and Jericho did the sort of Queen, and the crowd call and response bit. Go into Judas. Chris Jericho sings Judas while walking down to the ring. Only do one verse, chorus. Everyone sings along. Perfect.
All it needs to be.
Perfect. Then, Will Ospreay comes out. He's with Don Callis. I wish it was just Jericho and Will, and I love the match. It's so difficult to say my favorite because I think it's probably the third best match of the night, but there's 5 contenders for best match of the night. That's how good the show was. But having Don there and Sammy, I was like, I don't want this nonsense.
It was also really mixed in the reactions that the match got as well. And that's, I think, the problem that this match has got overall is that on Dynamite, Will is the heel with Don and Jericho is the babyface. But when you come down to it and you're actually wrestling in front of Wembley, and particularly because of Ospreay's promo that he cut at the end of, and Jericho did the sneak attack on him at the end of the Rev Pro show on Saturday nights, and Ospreay's
Which they showed.
Yeah. So when we came down to it, Jericho was the heel in London and Will was the conquering babyface. But he still got Don Callis in his corner, who is getting heel heat. And it kind of created this little bit of unbalance, I think, with the audience. And I feel that is massive oversight in terms of booking this, because I think you probably would have known ahead of time Will might get cheered in London. So
he got the biggest reaction of the night.
And deservedly so as well. And outside of maybe MJF and Cole, I think certainly third. It was probably him and then Grado. But yeah, I really, the match was great. Jericho really pulled out all the stops to make Ospreay look great. It was proper Lionheart Jericho here. And they had a great match. It's just that it was unbalanced in terms of the story they were telling going in and then the match they presented. Because Jericho then just went all out heel in the match. Which
was needed. But yeah, the stuff in the ring was excellent. Just all of it felt like we were talking about with the contract signing segment. It just feels genuine. It doesn't feel like pro wrestling. It felt like a big boxing fight. I've not got many notes because I was just having so much fun. But you had the walls of Jericho locked in, and Ospreay was trying to get to the ropes. Dom was on the apron. Sammy hit Ospreay. So Jericho I felt was definitely in the heel position all of a sudden.
Very much so.
Jericho hit an Oz cutter. Kick out at one.
So good.
It was Jericho who hit the low blow as well, so more heel stuff. Ospreay kicks out of a Judas elbow. That doesn't happen often. And Jericho kicked out of a Stormbreaker, another very protective move.
And it was that a finish in wrestling I absolutely love, which is when the person kicks out at 2, but they know that they've been beaten. Jericho kicks out of Stormbreaker, but just gets to his feet, gives Ospreay the middle fingers. Because it's almost like Jericho was letting him know, you had me beat there, but I did want to give you one final message. Yeah. And then Ospreay's like, well, you're dead then. So, Hidden Blade and Stormbreaker for the win. He's now beaten Omega, Okada, and Jericho in the span of 2 months.
If he doesn't go to AEW in 4 months' time, Tony Khan has scored a huge own goal.
It'll be hilarious when he signs with WWE.
Yeah.
Because Triple H will be making a big play for him.
I love that finish as well. The sight of Jericho, like, come on, then, you son of a bitch.
Just giving him the middle finger.
Hits the hidden blade right from the front.
And Jericho, after the match was done, because Sammy Guevara was trying to console Jericho after the match, being like, hey, you put in a good thing there. Jericho, blew him off and stuff, because Jericho got beat.
Yeah.
And in Jericho's mind, Jericho doesn't lose this match. Going up against Will Ospreay, this young punk Will Ospreay, he doesn't lose this match, but he did. So I was about to say I'm interested to see where this is good, but I'm not. What I want to do is watch another Will Ospreay match. I'm interested to see what Will does next.
Yeah. A Jericho dissension with Sammy Guevara at the end. I'm like, I've seen this 8 times in 2 years. I don't care. So that was, not the best post-match, but great match in the ring. And then the final match we'll talk about, because we already covered the main, is the Trios Championship match. House of Black dropped the belts to Billy Gunn, Badass Billy Gunn, and the Acclaimed.
Yeah. When Ospreay and Jericho happened, I was like, man, then we're going to go into the main event. Like, this is a really good run here. And then I was like, oh, yeah, of course, there's the 6-man tag. And at that point, I was like, yeesh, man. Like, I'm ready for the main event now. I'm kind of ready to wrap this up. I'd have probably just moved this to All Out.
Definitely.
But again, nobody actually knows anything, because we were talking about overacts. I think I was wrong in my estimation, because it was probably Better Than You, Baby, Ospreay, the Acclaimed.
Yeah.
And I suddenly thought, and then sort of looked around me, and I was thinking back to what I had seen throughout the day. Everyone was wearing Acclaimed t-shirts, the Scissor Me stuff. In the area that I was in, sort of not just the press area, but the section I was in, there was a scissoring section you had to walk through. If you wanted to walk to the bar, you had to scissor everyone on the way past it, or they wouldn't let you down the stairs.
Loads of foam fingers.
Foam fingers. They were so over. And so when that the place went insane and went absolutely bananas for the Acclaimed. He then made a Prince Andrew joke that was so good, no one heard the next line.
Yeah. I was like, what did he say next? I can't even remember what the Prince Andrew line was. I just know he said Prince Andrew.
Yeah, and everyone went,
that's enough.
And everyone went, oh!
He's very problematic.
But it was at that point that I was like, okay, I don't actually really know anything. Of course this match should have been on the card, because listen to this reaction.
It's weird seeing the House of Black make their entrance, because on TV, the lights cut out. And you're like, oh man, they're just appearing there. And then they're here. Now they walk. They walk in between those bits.
They sure do. Had a nice little Bray Wyatt tribute as well. They had the lantern, which was very good. And they let the lights go down so everyone could do the Firefly thing, which was very nice and very touching.
But yeah, new Trios champions.
Yeah, the match was totally fine.
Mercedes Moné was also shown in the crowd.
Yeah.
That's the only other notable thing.
Yeah, odd not to be shown during the women's match, but to be shown during the Trios match.
What's that feud with Julia Hart?
Julia Hart, they did the Scissor Me Timbers to Julia Hart, and the crowd loved it. It was so funny.
That was good. Well, yeah, overall, I gave this 98%. I thought it was an excellent show. Just had so much fun. It was a great day. Yeah.
Awesome day. Great show. Loved it. Cannot wait for next year. Cannot wait to do it all again. I'm going to be in the crowd next time, though. I need to be in
we're all going to be in the press box.
Yeah. Well, they'll never give us that access. But yeah, I cannot wait for them to do this again. I get some people's criticism. If you're watching this at home, maybe, then you might have some different thoughts on this. But man, they're live. This was awesome.
Have we got any Patreon?
We do not. No, we're all done.
Oh, great. Right. So let's get straight into these. We'll have to rattle through because we've got loads and we've already gone quite over time. Zeke That Freak, yes, that one, says, first AEW pay-per-view I ever bought, and of course, it was a nightmare to stream. Thanks, BR Live, but great show. MJF and Adam Cole carried it. Tag title match was great, but I feel it could have used a stip. Oh, no, I don't think so. Elite Trios was underwhelming, but main event and Sting were awesome. Hannah Allen says, not sure when you'll get this. Holy crap! This was spectacular and everything we expected. Sure, you Brits added some, but by gosh, AEW is stronger than ever. Not going to bring up the sore point. Hopefully he takes his ball and goes home. Lots of love, Jam That Jam. Kid Cuddy. Damn, it was a lot of hokey S-word on this pay-per-view. The unseriousness of the main event was cringe at points. Also, a lot of the endings either went too far or didn't go far enough. But overall, the show was fine. Seems to contradict a bit there. I think FTR and Young Bucks had the best match. I agree.
Yeah. It feels like if you're thinking that a lot of the endings either went too far or I don't think the show is ever going to serve your tastes.
Ben Vlaric, of course, experiencing it live makes it better, and I get the historical significance of the event, kudos. However, I thought it was a decent to good show, but nothing extraordinary. Crowd does make it better, only you sadly couldn't hear them always proper. By the way, is Punk worth the trouble? I don't know, but why not go even more all in with MJF? Punk's the past, MJF's the future. Man can do it all, heel and face. Punk's my fave, but I believe MJF is the guy for AEW, and he's still young and healthy. Tony, keep him at all costs. Because once it's 2024, if I were WWE or AEW, I would throw all the money in the world at him to get or keep him. Reigns still is a bigger star for now, but he's 38 and already part-time. Max is only 27. It's crazy, and he's probably not even in his prime yet.
I don't know anything. I think he's already signed.
I feel like he's already signed. Yeah.
I think they signed when he came back last year. He signed a new deal.
Yeah. Adam West Slapdog. Adam West Slapdog. Adam West's Lapdog. I've done this by mistakenly before. Since you guys were watching in person, I figured I'd share my favourite bit of commentary of the night, Excalibur trying to explain an obviously wooden table not breaking by loudly yelling, and that table made of British steel.
I mean, it was certainly worth it as well, because when that table did not break, everyone at the same time just shouted, "I am the table."
Mm-hmm. Matt Hennessy, I love this show, but I was there live, so it makes me somewhat biased. I attended Money in the Bank last month, and while I thought it was a 5 out of 5 show, when I rewatched it without the bias, it was a 4 out of 5 show. I'll have to rewatch All In without the live experience. I think rewatching the show without being there live will be when I feel comfortable giving All In a score. Being there in person, I thought it was a 5 out of 5, but rewatching it might drop it down to a 4 out of 5. Great show regardless, and wrestling fans we are. Wrestling is winning right now, and that's awesome. Sick of tribalism from both WWE and AEW fans.
Yep.
Just be happy about it. All In is going to be the highest attended wrestling show of all. WrestleMania 40 is going to have the biggest financial gate in wrestling history.
I think, there's a lot of caveats in there. And I think that's why when Tony Khan made the announcements, he gave a statistic that can't be disproven. Because you can say, there were 90,000 people if you include all the staff members and things, that and the other. But it's an unknown quantity. You can't literally have on a piece of paper that's an actual record fact. What he can say, though, is they sold 81,035 tickets. That is stone cold fact, and it cannot be disproven. So he was like, that's the stat I'm going to go, because no one can come back on me and say, you lied about that.
The Guilty Hat, on the bus back to Cardiff after a delightful night of wrestling. Hope you all enjoyed just as much as I did, but nobody came out to sing Don't Look Back in Anger at the end, so 0 out of 10 show. Maybe next year, Tony.
Maybe next year.
Lewis Pierce, last night was amazing. The show was so well put together that not even the sun trying to blind us, I was about 3 rows down from Dan and Ollie, couldn't detract from it. The clip downplayed how much Ollie was marking out. Oh no. But people... I didn't really think of other people.
Yeah, people, the eyes on you.
Yeah.
You said you feel like your lips got a little bit sunburnt.
Yeah, they're sore today. John Tideman. That Stadium Stampede match was utter nonsense. Trash like that doesn't belong on a high-profile wrestling card. Do you guys genuinely like that? Some talented wrestlers in that match that should be ashamed at putting their names to such nonsense. You've seen you've not seen the other Stadium Stampede and Anarchy in the Arena matches?
Yeah. So it stands to. I think it's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, that's like Mox's whole vibe.
Yeah,
I thought it was very good.
I'll hot tag in. Manipulating Manu Maria says, "What an amazing weekend with all the indie shows that also took place. We really showcased how amazing the UK European wrestling community is." Side note: spotted Ollie having a chat with Lord Gideon Grey. Ollie to the Legion or United Empire confirmed. Hey, I thought he was trying to stay incognito.
I can never do the. My fingers won't work that way. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the shows we went to, Defy was a lot of fun. Rev Pro at the Copper Box was awesome. If you get a chance, Luke Jacobs, Tomohiro Ishii was so good. Graham Shaw said, I woke up this morning and the first thing I saw was the latest CM Punk backstage incident. And ironically there, I'm so tired. This is what Punk said at the press conference last year. I don't care how good he is anymore. I just want this anchor of the concept of happiness to go away and stop crapping on otherwise great shows.
An anchor on the concept of happiness. Wow.
Michaela Traub said, I said this to my buddy last night. That's the thing about Jericho, why he's still a thing. Besides being a master of reinvention, he's also incredibly adept, always bringing his A-game when it counts. It may not have been the match anyone was expecting or wanting, but he will bring his absolute best because this is a key moment in wrestling history. Also, I said last week, I've only ever cried at wrestling a few times, and last night I cried twice. Billy getting his flowers and MJM crying about betrayal.
Yeah, Billy, a lot of people were so happy for Billy Gunn. You know, I was just like, oh, cool. Yeah. But yeah, lots of people were really emotional.
Michaela Traub said, is it just me, or is the best thing about Darby Allin pay-per-view matches not the actual match, but the student films that we get beforehand? I'm also glad they didn't turn, but I would love to see a bit of heel Cole coming through. Sorry, I can't see heel Cole without thinking of like
Michael Cole,
2012 Michael Cole.
Well, usually the student films I find quite cringy, but this was a good one because Sting got to say, it's showtime.
Tony Ten, my God, I should say as well. The Amazing Clip said, I bought the scarf because I'd never wear that ruddy top. Ouch. And Clip's a football fan as well. So he's got terrible taste in like fashion.
So you'll wear a Burberry scarf instead.
Chav. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'm knackered. For those who were there or weren't, was it a 10 out of 10 show? I don't know if Attendance Bias is hyping it to be my favorite show of all time.
Oh, it's one of my favorite memories of all time. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Jarvis V said, tired of this drama, especially on a historical night just after we united to celebrate two legends who loved this business more than anything. This is supposed to be an escape, but now we have to deal with the drama of grown men acting like kids. I just can't anymore. Andy Sandbox, do you prefer these questions later? Top to bottom, this was a great show. It's the biggest show of all time, but the story never ends, kicked in, and there's a lot of stories left open to develop further. Do you wish there was more finality on this show?
I don't feel like it was built up in a finality way, especially when you've got All Out so soon after. So no, that never entered my expectations.
Mine neither, either. William Buno has been a member for 27 months in a row, said, I was watching via Fight, but man, the tribalism is too much. Luckily, you can close the chat. Wrestling is great. Enjoy what you enjoy. # support each other. I mean, I've only ever seen the live chat on Fight once, and it was the first AEW pay-per-view. It was Double or Nothing. And I was like, nope, never again. Yeah. Closing that. We're full screening this because it's the worst. Harriet Manga Girl said, All In was amazing. So glad I was able to see it live with friends. Favorite match was Stadium Stampede and the main event with MJF and Adam Cole. Can't wait to see it all again next year. Yeah. Jonathan Hedman's been a member for 24 months in a row, said, hello guys, looks like you had a fun time. AI24 should have Oasis Effin' in the Bushes as its theme. AI24.
I don't know what that is.
Especially the scrum. So many F-bombs. AI24. AL24?
I don't
know. Wayne here said, had an amazing night. I have half a memory of talking to Wally the merch stand. I was very drunk and you were very nice.
That doesn't make it. That's very vague. A lot of very drunk people talking to me, and I was being very nice to all of them.
That's doing very good. You're a very polite person. Homostar Fan 13 said, what a fantastic night. I will never forget. I hope I can go again next year. I went with my brother, who knows very little about wrestling, only ever really knew Big Show and Jericho, and his favorite match of the night was Stadium Stampede.
Interesting.
Kevin said, the figure 4 wrestling was a real downer for me. Maybe I missed when the Outcast...
Female 4-way.
Sorry, I see F4W and I'm just like, oh, figure 4 weekly.
Yeah.
Sorry. The Fatal 4-Way was a real downer for me. Maybe I missed when the Outcast started to show dissension, but I really dislike I clearly saw that was an accident, but I'm mad at you because I'm dumb. Or Tony going from 1/3. No, I'm sorry, let's still be friends. To, all right, F, I'm going to break your neck. Also, as a big fan of Shida, this reign was a letdown. The rest of the show was fine and absolutely amazing. Punk Joe ruled. Bucks FTR ruled. Y2J may be match of the night. 2 out of 3.
No, actually, he said 3 out of 3 earlier, so maybe there's 3 chats.
Oh, I see.
On the Saraya bit, I don't the fact that it was an accident, I don't think matters because you've hit my mum. Yeah. I don't care if it was an accident. That's what I took from it.
So, had clarification from the chat. All In 24 as AI 24.
Oh, right.
I will say, Jonathan Hedman, you had quite a lot of characters left in that odd chat. You could have just written All In 24.
Busy man.
This is B82 Res levels of you had time to do this. Travis has been a member for 23 months in a row. Says, was my first wrestling show I've been to other than at Download Festival. Loved every minute of it. Liked when Fulham got booed. Can't wait for next year.
Yeah, at the start of the show, there was an advertisement for Fulham.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fulham will be here. Boo! Austin Falco said, what do you think of the setup in arena production in person? I thought it looked great on the broadcast, especially the way they used the stage tunnel for entrances and played up the scale of the venue with the wide shots.
Yeah, from what Dan kept on getting quite emotional when they did the roving sky cam to take in the whole scene. I bet it looked good on TV. From a live experience, I wasn't blown away by the production. There was loads of pyro, but it wasn't WWE levels of pyro. And the stage was just a bunch of LED panels.
But I liked that. Yeah. I like the more simpler stage. Like when WWE do on their their shows, and then they have like a little kink in the thing. I actually prefer those to the big, like massive Raw and SmackDown LED stages.
Where's the model Buckingham Palace? Where is the red telephone
Where's
box?
the red phone box? I thought the production was it was pretty good. I quite like that the seats were set up like a Union Jack on the floor.
Well, that was more because of the
poles, but you work around those issues. Dark Cat 18 has been a member for 25 months in a row. Says, hey bro, Chacho, just popped in to say that All In was the best show I think I've ever seen. Oh. Also, it's my goal to join you guys next year.
Yes, please.
Powerpack is 90 said, as someone that was at the OG All In back in 2018, I'm glad you guys loved being there at All In 2023. Erdem said, I was sitting a couple of rows behind Ollie and Dan yesterday. I didn't want to bother you, gents, since I got to meet you at the watch-longs before, but it was great seeing you there. It was my girlfriend's first time watching wrestling, and she's such an MJF mark now.
Excellent.
Eternal Blue's been a member for 26 months in a row. Says, just another renewal chat. Keep up the great work, everyone. Lovely show last night. Wrestling is fun. Drama is not. Michaela Traub says, me again. Wanted to say that I was upset about the lack of women's match or angle in 0 Hour. The treatment of the women's division and Punk continuing being a virtue signaling a-hole is starting to turn me off the company despite loving AEW. I hate the term virtue signaling because to me that just means like he says things I don't agree with.
I think I did that because he got the trans rights.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, right, I see.
Yeah. Sammy Boy says, I just hated the women's logic. Miscommunication spot makes Saraya the heel in my eyes. Also, Ruby came to save Saraya. Tony pushed her, so Ruby doesn't care about Saraya anymore. Saraya just been hitting Tony, but gets upset at her for trying to pin her. At this point, just acknowledge the FTW is your hardcore title. You look stupid if you keep booking it. It is a good idea. Don't know if it had to do with the permits, but I was hoping for a Mania-style stage and entrance. Over or under that 2024 will do, same or better, MJF is the GOAT. Well, I think it's that you can get more seats in. If you have the big stage, you can't have as many seats there.
Do they do better next year? God, I really don't know. I would say they don't do as well next year.
I would say they will do there or thereabouts next year, maybe slightly under. I don't think it's going to be like 50 or 60. It'll probably be like 70.
Yeah, 65,
it's there or thereabouts. Andy Sandbox says, the glass comment from Jack was funny. Funny comments like this are digs at smart fans. That should have been it. If it gets on screen, just run with it. Stop getting so angry over small things. Fans let things blow over if wrestlers do.
Yeah, it's just a tense situation backstage, though, isn't it? So saying it won't be interpreted as a funny thing. It was funny. It's a funny line.
Very funny line.
Like back in the day, that would have been the sort of shoot comment that I would have just been captivated by.
Yeah.
But now I just don't want the drama.
Yeah. Final thoughts. AEW had its first stadium show, a WrestleMania level event, to prove it can get there. The talks of Edge, Will Ospreay, Mercedes Moné. Do you think there's hope for a second resurgence with massive debuts? Drew to All In next year?
Well, it sounds like Drew's going to re-sign.
I think so.
But yeah, that's a good point, actually. Edge and Mercedes Moné. I don't think either are particularly big movers these days, but they're definitely bolstering.
The reactions that Moné got on that, the when she was ever shown on camera. But maybe that's just the excitement of her being there in London. Jonathan Edmund, actually, a very good point there. If you have less tickets on sale next year, because you're not going to get 81,000 people in. You probably could do a bigger stage.
Mm.
Skillgull22 said the Orange Cassidy glass on the fist spot was a death match called the Taipei Death Match. The biggest match between Axel and Ian Rotten in ECW 96, and they used super glue and bandages instead of glue. Could be a reference to that match. But I think that match was also a reference to Bloodsport, which was a real thing. And quite scary. Blazing Stoke. I don't know if that is Matt. Are you from Basingstoke? Because that's what we used to call Basingstoke, because it was full of chavs. So we used to call it Blazingstoke. We're staying in the same hotel as a bunch of the wrestlers. I saw Wheeler Yuta, Takeshita, Hobbs just after the show, but didn't want to bother them. Did, however, end up sharing a lift with Julia Hart. We told her she was awesome. She was super nice. Jam that jam.
That must have been quite scary. Imagine if the lights cut out.
And she's not there.
Yeah.
I've shared a lift with Kushida. Maybe this will be a weekly segment we can do. Which wrestlers have you shared a lift with? Chozo55 said...
A lift is an elevator.
Oh, yeah.
Americans.
Chozo55, an opportunity to go this year, but chose against it due to how much it'll cost overall. But I will see you next year.
Good.
Josh said, amazing. I was in the crowd. My daughter, 86, cried at the Bucks in losing. Next year, she wants to sit at the front. I cried when Punk came out.
Oh, that sounds like a tense family. An Elite fan and a Punk fan.
Do you think she knows? Do you think she's analysed the post-show press conference? Dex said, I can't remember what podcast said it, but every single champion in AEW that won their belt during the pandemic has gotten to win that belt again in front of fans, with the exception of Brody Lee. So the Shida win seemed to just give her that. And Green Bastard here said, as I said before, I didn't feel like the pay-per-view was long at all because it started at 10 a.m. my time instead of 7 at night after a day's work. So I'm usually ready for bed after the fourth match. More international pay-per-views, please.
Oh, I wouldn't mind if the Americans also started running their shows in the early afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be lovely.
Yeah. Like it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
Start at 1 o'clock your time.
Well, they do it on Saturdays, though, don't they? Oh,
if it's a Saturday, also do it at 1 o'clock.
Oh, that's
That's
such a good idea.
And it's 6 p.m. our time. It's lovely.
Yeah. We'll be done by 10.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you very much for everybody.
Just going to end the poll so we can get a
joining us today.
Review on what you thought of this show. I know somebody was like, Frank Dukes is a fantastic liar. I know he's a liar. Like he does come on, Nick. Make up a lot of stories. Mm-hmm. But I think Bloodsport in that. So anyway, thumbs up 91%, thumbs in the middle 7%, 0% thumbs down. But I'm gonna guess the rest of that is because there's only 98%. There's probably a 2% around there somewhere.
YouTube maths isn't the best. But thank you very much for joining us here today, and thank you to everyone who came up to meet us over the weekend of wrestling shows. It was lovely to meet you all. But for now, I've been Ollie Davis. It's been Luke Owen. DAD. Jam that jam.
Jam that jam.